Welcome back to City Skylines. Decided to take a break from my trip down memory lane going to SimCity 5. Sometimes that game does get on my nerves. And I think I'm not done playing that game, but I did want to take just a bit of a break from it so that I can come back to my new build here in City Skylines. And we are building Hamilton, Montana. So, got most of the street grid laid out the way I want. Just a few finishing touches. And we're just going to have some fun with it. The street grid is going to be reminiscent of Hamilton, Montana. The map we're using is a map that comes with the game. This is not a height map imported in. This is an actual City Skyline official map. So the benefit we have here is that it's a truly vanilla play. Absolutely not a single mod active from the very beginning onward. We are not cheating in this build, and that is going to limit us some, but it's a fun limitation because it allows us to really get granular and focused on the actual mechanics of the game itself, as opposed to going down that mod rabbit hole. And I think it's interesting how sometimes you can find creative ways to do what you want to do with a build, and you don't have to necessarily use mods to achieve a pretty interesting effect in the game, in reality. But once you go down the mod rabbit hole, then you it becomes a crutch, I guess. You just kind of get used to having mods, and then you don't ever want to not have them. But if you don't have them, then you figure out, how can I make my build a little bit more realistic with the tools that I actually have in my toolbox, if you will. So we are drawing out a few more street grids here. Some of this I'll probably do off camera because I know it's boring, but we did already get most of them done. It's just a matter of kind of this side of the railroad tracks, I guess is what you'd call it. We're also going to name all the roads, but again, that's something I will typically do off camera because even if someone is watching this video sometime, nobody wants to see me sit there meticulously naming a whole lot of roads. But it is something that's fun, adds a bit of realism to the build. And probably when I'm done with this, it'll wind up going onto the Steam workshop as a save file that's available for other people to download. Another benefit of making a vanilla build. We got a good solid start, $214,000 in the bank and $1,400 per cycle coming in. Weekly income, that's what it is, it's per week. And one thing I'm experimenting with in this build is to kind of have fewer streets, and then where streets would be in real life, like alleyways and things, I'm actually just putting trees there. And then that creates a little bit more of a sense of greenery, a sense of open spaces, and it creates a bit of a solution to that sense of buildings being really, really kind of stacked on top of each other, and you know, there being just too many of them. I do want to be a little bit conservative with the trees, just because I know there is a kind of a upper limit to how many trees you can have. At some point the game will turn off your trees. It'll tell you no more trees. So I don't want to spam the trees too much, though I don't see it being a problem, because we have far fewer trees elsewhere on the map than some of my other builds have had. That's one mistake I made, building custom maps and then having too many trees in the areas where I wasn't building. Then I ran out of available tree allowance, if you will, in town when I wanted to put trees in my actual city that I was building. It's a bit obnoxious to have to delete trees so that you can plant trees. Now, we aren't using any specialized districts right now, though eventually we probably will. I do like the European suburbia style, and I enjoy the green and farmers market style district for the commercial area, because it's low density and it looks pretty good for a small town. So we're probably going to go with that. It's a little obnoxious that it's nighttime, isn't it? It's kind of hard to see, but then again, you know, realism, right? Let's just go ahead and leave it on. But what I'm going to do here is we're not going to start off with any districts, I think. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of cherry pick one block at a time. And if there's buildings that I like, we'll just make them historical, one block at a time. And that'll allow us to kind of have a bit more diversity in the different styles of buildings we have, without using districts at all. Isn't that a beautiful sunrise? Or is that a sunrise? I think that's a sunrise over there. What are we listening to? This is... I think it's 80s. Is it 80s? I don't know. Well, let's switch it to something else. Sunny Breeze. That sounds cool. So we need more industry. We have a lot of industry over here. That's not really where I want it long term. I think where I want my industry to be is more over here, like near where these windmills are. I think what we're going to do is we're going to make an industrial area over here. I'm gonna accidentally turn the power off to the town here. Bad deal.
This is Earl Gibb, and you're listening to Sunny Breeze, helping you remain calm throughout the day.
This here is going to be our industrial area as well. In real life, Hamilton does not really have a whole lot of industry. Doesn't really have any industry. So we just have to be a little bit creative with it. And eventually we'll put an airport either here or right across the freeway on the other side. Eventually, when we expand more, this highway interchange might go away too, and we might move it over here to like one tile away. And then over here, this road will bend up and we'll have a highway interchange there eventually. But for right now, that works okay, and it doesn't look too ridiculous. We have the freeway out here, which in real life doesn't exist, but the game put it there, so we're not going to complain. And that would be, we're going to go ahead and say that that's something equivalent to I-90 in real life, and then in reality, you'd have several miles between the freeway and this little town. But we aren't going to have that here. We're just going to have a funny little interchange, and then we're going to have industry and whatever we want over here as we get closer to the airport. And then on this side, this area here is going to be where we focus a lot more attention on kind of making it a bit of a labor of love to make it feel like a nice, beautiful little American town. Though, there's nothing beautiful about this fire gutting the town right now, so I suppose it is time to build a fire station. We have one fire station. Maybe we should build another one. I suppose a wildfire going through town would be a good reason to build a second fire station. And we'll build a third one, because I think we can. And that'll help. That'll help a bit with the fire risk. And then we're going to go over and take a look at building some industrial services. More industry. We're gonna plop that out here. We're gonna call that an industrial park. If we were being true to life, that area there, where we're going to be putting this industrial park, would actually be more modern subdivisions of houses, but we're not going to be too worried about that. We're just gonna have some fun. We're going to plop some industry. We're not being too particular about it. Game wants industry, so industry we will give it. we have enough water there. That should be all right. Don't think we have any power yet, though. So we probably ought to run a line here. It's going to help us a lot with expansion. Now, another thing about doing a build like this is we have to expand. Because if we don't expand our population, we won't be able to buy the tiles. So the general idea here is to expand the city until we unlock all the services and buildings that we're going to want. And then after we expand population and buy the tiles we need for land and unlock the buildings we need to build the city we want, then at that point we can kind of scale back population a bit and focus more on just the city building experience. And I do eventually want to go into farm specialization as the main focus driver for our industry. As a matter of fact, I think what we'll do here is we're going to experiment with having a farm specialization zone over here for this industrial park. Might give a kind of a nice effect. Through a district, and then we need to go to industrial specializations. There we go. And farming industry. There we go. So now those buildings will probably disappear in a second because I realize they're out of code. And then we'll get farming buildings. And we are going to want to build some farms. We'll do a farming industry here. I haven't really done much with the industries DLC, so mastering the farms and things is something we might focus on in this build. Because I do like having the farm buildings. That looks a lot better. A lot better. We could probably get away with doing the same thing over here. The only potential problem with doing an industrial specialization is going to be gee, I forgot what I was going to say.
The Brontosaurus. For millennia, these gentle and graceful giants roamed the earth, grazing.
Now, what I was going to say is we might have a problem with getting supplies to the factories.
Impact on our world. It's that legacy that Dino Oil is proud to continue by using their eons-old dead bone goop to fuel your 5-door wagon, making it the oldest form of recycling there is. Dino Oil. Embrace the power of bones.
You're listening to Sunny Breeze with me, Earl Gibb. I hope you like this next one, and it makes your day feel bright.
It'll be nice if we can get rid of some of the pollution there. Because the only thing is these farm industry buildings want raw materials, and if you don't have farms in the area, that can be a problem. But trucks can bring it in from outside of town, so we might be alright. Now, one thing I've been doing, though, as I said, though, is to have trees where we would normally have roads. And that's going to give our city a lot more of a breezy, tree-filled feel to it, which would be kind of cool. Sprinkle in a few evergreen trees. I found out there's a new Dungeons and Dragons movie in the theaters. Thought that's kind of cool. I don't know if I'll go see it. Normally, I don't really go to movie theaters, but I might break down and go see it. Otherwise, I'll probably just watch it when it comes out on whatever streaming service it goes to. I'm thinking about resubscribing to Paramount Plus soon so that I can watch Star Trek. There are a number of Star Trek episodes that have come out that I haven't seen, so I don't normally, that's one thing I've learned. It's a good idea to limit your streaming services. Just subscribe to what you're currently watching. And then when you're done, you unsubscribe. And if you want to subscribe again, then you do when there's more content out. But I don't just binge watch everything, so I don't need to have a membership to any streaming service at all. Unless I want unless I have something on there that I really want to watch. But if that's the case, then I can just subscribe for 1 month because I don't need a whole year to watch a few shows.
When your nerves are all a jangle and the world feels like a pair of unironed pajamas, keep it tuned right here to Sunny Breeze. We'll put a little smile in your day.
Now that's probably a little obnoxious hearing all those clicks for plopping trees. And mouse clicks. You know, the mouse can be loud sometimes. Water availability is a problem now, I see. Unlike SimCity 5, though, we have plenty of options for sewage processing at our disposal. We'll put some, I guess we'll put our wind power plant out here. More windmills. because that's apparently where the wind is. Let's build a recycling center. Now, one thing I have heard is that the recycling center is not actually any different than a landfill site. It's just that the landfill site has more capacity. So we might have to put that to the test and see if we can just have recycling centers without having any landfills. Processing capacity is still kind of low though, so I don't know. I think for right now, we're going to have a landfill. Another landfill. Got a nice little industrial area here. We're gonna have to thin it out eventually though, because that looks ridiculous. All those little sheds all jammed in there. That is City Skylines' problem. It does not have the ability on its own to create a sense of realistic density. It winds up just getting it wrong every time when it comes to the look and feel of a town. These buildings, they don't really quite look like what you'd expect in a normal American small town, downtown area. Some of the buildings are cool. Some of them are a little bit ridiculous though. What we got here? We have illness. Our water's polluted. Where's our water pollution coming from? We have to go to the info layer to figure that out. Oh, right there. I should have known. I put a garbage processing plant next to a water tower. That's a bummer. I should not have done that. So everybody's over here getting ill. Sewage in the water lowers land value. Who would know? Well, let's expand our residential area. Another thing we'll have to explore is college campuses.
Lights, camera, movie. There's
And
nothing
banks.
like watching a movie to take you to another place or time. And there's no better place to watch than Drome Cinema. And no better time than the time it takes you to get from where you are to where we are. You'll break box office records of fun as you take a trip to Tinseltown Movieville, USA. Action, cut, quiet on the set. Our theaters feature noise-absorbing fabric, guaranteeing the only thing you hear is the movie. That high-pitched shuttle drone is normal. It's the sound your ears hear when there's nothing for your ears to hear here. So come on down and enjoy the movies where everyone's a star.
This is Earl Gibb coming to you live. Unless this is a recording. I guess you'd have no way of knowing that. You're listening to Sunny Breeze.
Maybe we'll take a minute and plant some trees along this avenue. Raining pretty hard. We definitely need a high school.
This is Earl Gibb, and you're listening to Sunny Breeze. Kick back or sit normally and relax.
There's our first high school. think it's an interesting idea to copy a real place, because the truth is, when you're done, you don't actually have something that's a copy of a real place. You have something inspired by a real place, but actually your own version of it. And so sometimes copying something, but then using your own artistic license to kind of do what you want with it, creates things that are a lot more original and unique than actually trying to be purely original and unique without having anything realistic to use as kind of source material. So I think it's definitely something I get a lot of fun out of, starting every build being inspired in some way by a real place that I've been to or seen that's special to me. And I think Hamilton, Montana is a special place. It's just a beautiful little town surrounded by mountains, and there's been like a Hank Williams song written about it. Anyway, it is a beautiful little town to go visit if you ever have a chance. So it'd be cool for us to create something that tries to live up to the spirit of it. And I think this map kind of does. It's a picturesque map of a lot of mountains and a river, and that really is characteristic of what Hamilton, Montana is all about. That'll be enough for today. We've built a bit more. We've made a bit of a industrial area here, and it's coming along all right. To start reducing the pollution over here on the, what is it? I guess that would be the west side of town. We've planted some trees. They have a pretty nice sense of green space in the middle of town. Looks quite nice. Keep on building it out a little bit at a time. I think in this build, even though this is inspired by a small town, we probably will strategically put some skyscrapers and some other big buildings there, and not necessarily make this one stay looking like a small town. I didn't want it to be a sea of ridiculous spammy skyscrapers, but I do want to let this build feel like a fairly large city. When we're all done, it'll feel kind of like a big city, a little bit more than perhaps would be the case if it were just a build inspired by a small town. In any case, that is Hamilton, Montana, and I want to say episode 1 of Hamilton, I think. Don't know if I've put any uploads of this build on YouTube yet. Anyway, till next time, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.